I'm your host, Jasmine Knight. Welcome back. If this is your first time here, subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. Smash that like button and share so the video gets pushed out to others. Remember, we can make a difference, but we must speak up. Now, on with the show.
I hope you're hungry, and we just got a fresh delivery of meat and fries that's got your name on it. People love to eat here. It's almost like they can't stop, and truthfully, I don't want them to. Want a single? A double? Maybe a triple? Don't forget some bacon. We got whatever you need. Don't you just love French fries? We can biggie size them for you so you won't ever have to worry about running out. Fat and happy. No need to worry about cholesterol or sodium. You only live once, right? Where's the beef? We got you.
Must become rich in mind long before you become rich in life, because wealth is not dollars. Wealth is not gold. Wealth is not status. Wealth is a frequency, and your mind is either tuned into it or tuned out of it. And the difference? Belief. The mind is the master power that molds and shapes your reality, and every thought you allow to live rent-free in your head becomes a brick in the house you're building, the house of your destiny. If you think small, you live small. If you think fear, you live in chains. But if you think abundance, if you breathe it, see it, speak it, walk with it, your life must follow. Not because of magic, but because of alignment.
Where are the images from Christopher Columbus, right? Where are the 1492 ships? And we talked about this in multiple other videos. Where are they? In this book, they have a picture of the Santa Maria, which I thought was really interesting. There's the ship that supposedly came over, right? But here's the part that doesn't make any sense. So check this. You have this ship, right? But look at those high-rise buildings in the background. Those are pretty big. So people supposedly coming over on these ships were also building high-rises in the back of the city. Now we fast forward in this book. So now we're going towards looking at each state, right? Each state. And this is really important too, because each state had these buildings. So this is a building in California, and it goes by each state. Look at that. Look at that architecture. Just remarkable, right? The amount of detail, the arches. Big Bang Theory must have included those buildings too. Yes, when they were doing Big Bang, they were talking about Big Bang of these things because they were getting rid of a lot of this stuff.
We can afford to assume that the people who are charged with our public health any longer have our best interests at heart all the time. Parents have to make their own decisions.
Why would a doctor not want to know more about something that could save a life or prevent a disease?
The AAP is financed by the drug companies. Medical schools are financed by the drug companies. This is a huge business. Vaccines are the largest growing division of the pharmaceutical industry. $13 billion.
They control medical schools. I mean, these doctors are not learning about prevention or vitamins or diets.
What we're asking is for them to take a loss for the good of our children. That's a tough sell in a boardroom. I don't think we can.
If you want to be in the club, you got to go to these weird Hollywood parties.
Did anyone else find the invitations to the all-white party extremely weird? This is the highest profile party in the world called the all-white party. It's hosted by billionaire Michael Rubin, and it happens every year on the 4th of July.
This is an Illuminati hotbed.
There was something about the invitations that just didn't sit right with me. This one is Tom Brady's. This one right here is Drake's, and this is Quavo's. You can see all of the celebrities' invitations if you just look them up. But if you pause and look at the artwork, there's some weird stuff going on. These invitations were done by George Condo. This is a very popular artist, and some of his artwork goes for millions of dollars, and he gave each celebrity their own unique invitation. And I looked up some of his artwork, and he has a lot of interesting stuff, including when he collabed with Kanye West for one of his album covers. He drew him up a bunch of artwork. Yeah, I mean, speaks for itself. A lot of people question what actually goes down during this party, especially after they saw what Michael Rubin made Meek Miles do, jumping around like a bunny because he supposedly lost a bet. And then in the private jet, when Lil Baby and Meek Mill were saying that they were going to get drunk and hugs if they don't behave at the party.
Tonight, I don't care what anyone says. You're getting a drunk and hug. You two, you two drunk and hugs are coming.
In everything I've seen, in all the autopsies I've done of cancer patients, not one of them died of cancer. They died of liver failure, they died of cardiac failure, renal failure, all due to chemotherapy. We got a patient that had been through chemo and radiation, and they had cooked her liver and cooked her kidneys. We looked at the blood work and realized she had no organ function to speak of left. And I said, we can make her more comfortable, but the radiation treatment that they used on her has actually destroyed her organs. So we did what we could. She'd been given 3 weeks, we gave her 6 months. And she got time to say goodbye to her family. But I remember walking into the office the morning after she passed, and this internist was sitting on the waiting room couch. And I said, what's the problem? And she looked at me and she said, I'm doing the death certificate, and I don't know what to write for cause of death. I said, you might try writing the truth for a change. And she said, you know how much trouble I can get in by doing that? I said, if you're going to study with me, you're going to write the truth. And she wrote radiation poisoning, cause of death. She's the only doctor I've ever seen do that. She actually had the courage to tell the truth.
How fruit looked before humans.
Lemon today. Wild lemon. Eggplant today. Wild eggplant. Tomato today. Wild tomato. Watermelon today. Wild watermelon. Peach today. Wild peach. Apple today. Wild apple.
I don't like makeup. I'm against makeup. I don't think it's good for women, and I don't think they really need to be using it, honestly. I think it takes away.
That's awesome.
Makeup it's capitalizing on women's insecurities when it's something that they can easily fix. I think it takes away from a woman's natural beauty, and also it is so bad for you. Like, you think about how skin absorbs things. When you read the ingredients on a foundation bottle, what is in it? You can't even pronounce it. It's a bunch of crap that you're putting on your face. And that is in turn making your skin worse. So you have to keep buying more foundation to cover up what it's creating.
Back in 1997, a shipping company in Japan decided to try out this brand new autopilot system on one of their cargo vessels. The idea was dead simple, really. Just program a perfect straight-line course across the Pacific, let the computers handle all the navigation, and see just how efficient it could be. For the first 12 days, everything was just fine. The ship moved along at a steady speed, no storms, no mechanical problems at all. But on day 13, the navigation officer noticed something odd. According to the charts, they were actually far from where they should have been. And not just off course by a few miles, they were off by hundreds. The captain ordered a manual correction, thinking maybe the autopilot had glitched or something. But when they recalculated, they realized something even stranger. The autopilot had actually been working perfectly. The course was, well, a flawless straight line. But here's the thing. The problem was with the maps. On a globe, their route should have slowly arced to account for the curvature of the Earth. But in reality, the ship's path just kept going straight, and the destination they expected wasn't where the charts claimed it would be. So, one of the engineers quietly suggested they test a theory. Instead of turning, they just let the autopilot continue straight ahead. After another week, they saw land. But, you know, it wasn't the coast they were aiming for. It turned out to be a remote island chain, not listed on their navigation software, and, well, it was inhabited only by birds. The company buried the incident in a short report, blaming what they called instrument recalibration errors. But honestly, one crew member later admitted he just couldn't stop thinking about it. If ships can follow a perfect straight line and still miss their destination by hundreds of miles, maybe it's not the ships or the software that's wrong. Maybe it's the map. And if the map is wrong, well, what does that say about the shape of the world it's built on? Just to be clear, this is for entertainment purposes.
I'm sure this is just nothing, but one of the comments was, she uttered his Manchurian Candidate activation phrase. Watch this guy.
That's exactly how you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies in your high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away.
Why did they destroy all the bells after World War II? Because if you sit in a bell and someone hits it and it begins to resonate, you can begin to heal like that. All the bells you ever look up, and notice how all the bells have a crack in them and they're broken. I wonder why that is. There's intention to get rid of these things so that we're dependent on a sick care system, because sound frequency instantaneously heals the body. Similar to chanting. If you any sound effect will begin to instantly structure all the body at the same time. That's what used to happen in the cathedrals. They would ring the bells or they would play the pipe organs, and all of the cells in the body would instantaneously become structured, which would instantly heal them. But they had to get rid of the pipe organs, which are made from lead, which is interesting, and they had to get rid of the bells, because both of those can heal people. Now imagine if a bell of the size of the massive bells we were shown was ringing in a cathedral, okay? Now imagine the frequency that would come out of the cathedral into the town. You could heal the entire town instantaneously just by ringing the bell in the cathedral. That's why they had to get rid of them. They had to break all those bells.
I'm not allowed to say certain things, but our world has more secrets than you think. Read our book, link in profile bio.
When we're done with him, he will claim Kenyan citizenship.
Habari. Erokomano. It's good to be back. Now, 3 years ago, I visited Kenya as the first sitting American president to come from Kenya. And while 3 years ago my sister Alma introduced me before I gave a speech, today I'm really coming as a brother, as a citizen of the world, as someone with a connection to Africa.
This looks to be like it's throwing a wrench in the gears in the official story of how Earth came to be and what the timeline of events was. They say if the news is fake, imagine how bad history is. Well, these guys are finding seashells and all kinds of stuff, which people find seashells all the time that are old. Except they're at the top of a mountain. And that means this mountain was under an ocean at one point. But how long ago? According to official sources, about 3 billion years ago. Do these look like 3 billion year old shells? Let me know.
Why are lies believed so easily?
Because truth requires surrender. Lies flatter pride.
This video is going to show you what garlic juice does to human parasites. This is very important to watch because 99% of people out there have parasites. That's why there's so many health issues. That's why you crave sugar and processed food and all this stuff, because the parasites literally get into your brain and they alter the neurology and make you crave these things. So you're going to see what happens here when we use garlic juice and how it kills parasites. And not only kills parasites, but they essentially have a bleed off, if you will. They explode and their, remains go into your system. This is why a lot of people have, detox effects when, see, you're going to see right here, when they do a parasite cleanse, because they, this stuff all goes into your system and you start getting sick. So it's important to have binders as well when you're doing a parasite cleanse. That way those binders can stick to the parasites, can stick to all this garbage here, not allow it in your system, and then, flush it out of you. So guys, look into parasite cleanses. A lot of people need to do this. This is why your health is lacking. Peace and
So Hitler comes in, and the country's like a war zone. The currency is worthless. The economy's destroyed. Degeneracy is rampant. There's transgender stuff, licentiousness, prostitution.
There's transgender stuff back then?
Yeah.
When was...
That's why they were burning books.
Wow.
Those were the books they were burning.
Oh, I didn't... Wow. I'm just shocked there was transgender stuff back then.
And they were the pioneers in transgenderism, in early transgender surgeries, homosexuality, all that stuff. Like, it was all coming from Berlin. And that's what the book burnings were about. They were burning all these research books about transgender stuff because it was like morally repugnant. It's the same stuff that's going on today. Everybody says the book burnings, they were burning knowledge. That wasn't knowledge. That was perversion. That'd be like if they started burning pornography. Nobody would say that burning pornography is some sick, tyrannical, like backwards. They don't want people to be educated. They would say that's filth. All that transgender stuff was coming from Jewish intellectuals. People blame what's happening in America today on the cultural Marxists. That's real. The cultural Marxists were all Jews that came from Berlin, that were driven out by Hitler. When people look at the legacy of postmodernism, cultural Marxism in America today, it all came from these guys at Columbia who originally came from Frankfurt in Germany.
Cancer is not a disease, it's a survival mechanism. So cancer is not trying to Cancer is actually trying to save your life.
Really?
It's creating a tumor, a place for all those toxins to be so that they don't spread to other parts of the body. Okay. When you go to a doctor, the first thing they do is say, okay, well, let's take a biopsy, where they prick the tumor and they see if it was cancerous or not. Well, first of all, whether the tumor is cancerous or not, your passive treatment is still the same. So you don't actually need the biopsy. In fact, most people don't actually die from cancer. They die from the treatment of cancer.
Really?
Yes. And so when they take that biopsy, remember that we're dealing with healthcare, so there's no money to be made off healthy humans.
Right.
And so when they prick the tumor, they're opening it up and allowing the cancer cells and all the harmful toxins to now spread throughout the body. Jeez. So now you go from having a tumor on biopsy, they come back, a little bit later and they say, okay, well now the cancer's spreading all throughout your body. So we're going to have to charge you more money, and you're going to have to do more radiation, chemotherapy, and all that, etc. Which is crazy because Dr. Otto Warburg, who discovered cancer, he won the Nobel Prize for discovering cancer. He said, quote unquote, that no disease, including cancer, so this is any disease out there, can survive in a highly alkaline, highly oxygenated environment.
Does the Bible say we can eat anything? Watch this.
Pigs, shellfish, dogs, cats, and skunks, because those are all animals. Those animals are not meant to be eaten. They're meant to grab waste from the environment, store it, and then they die. Mm-hmm. They're not waste removal systems. They are garbage cans. So if you look at a pig or a dog or a cat or a skunk, and you might say, no one would ever eat a dog, cat, or skunk. They do in other countries. Mm-hmm. But particularly, we are infatuated with pork, and so are European countries, I've noticed, particularly Italy. A pig has a structure that is similar to a human, and that is a monogastric. It has one stomach. The animals God says to eat in Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14 that are land animals, I'm talking about cow, goat, sheep, buffalo. They have a 4-chamber stomach where they can chew the cud or the grass, digest it, and become powerful, well-muscled animals, whereas pigs will eat anything.
In 1948, this woman discovered a code that can bend reality. She used it for 30 years and had an insanely high success rate. This is Helen Hadsell. She passed away in 2010, but she was accused of being maybe a scammer, or she had some type of illegal thing going on for how many times she would win prizes. She won over 1,000 different prizes, including a house, by entering contests in newspapers, magazines, etc. But this wasn't just luck. She had a system. She had a 4-letter formula called SPEC. Select it, project it, expect it, collect it. SPEC. Select it, project it, expect it, collect it. She wrote a book on it called The Name It and Claim It Game. Select it. Be crystal clear about what you want. She didn't enter contests randomly. She chose one she truly desired to win. Project it. See your success vividly in your mind. She would imagine hearing her name called, holding the prize in her hands, experiencing the emotions of winning. She would visualize that, projecting it. Expect it. Helen believed you had to expect your success, not hope for it, because hope means uncertain. And doubt blocks manifestation. Collect it. Helen always took action. She wrote the slogans, sent the entries, did the work. Her philosophy was the universe rewards actions, not daydreaming. In 1969, she manifested a house, entered a contest for it. Out of the tens of thousands of entries, hers was chosen. She visualized it every single day until it was hers. Neuroscience confirms what Helen instinctively knew. Visualization rewires your brain. Positive thoughts build new neural pathways. Thoughts create things. Follow for more.
What did he say about Christmas?
Well, you know, Arthur, no one actually knows what day Jesus was born on. The holiday is in December probably because that's when the Romans celebrated the winter solstice, and most likely they adopted that tradition from the Babylonians. I don't care.
We have friends who do not celebrate Christmas because they say December 25th is really a pagan holiday. How do I respond to them?
In a sense, tell them they're right. Winter solstice a couple of days later was the shortest day of the year. The pagans had something called Saturnalia, and it was a time of lawlessness because all the laws were suspended. When the Catholic Church came along in Italy, the Romans and others didn't want to give up their holidays, so they said, okay, we'll Christianize it. So all this business about mistletoe, pagan. Christmas trees, pagan. Giving out gifts, pagan. Every bit of it is pagan.
Christians, did you know this? And if you did, do you still celebrate Christmas? I personally feel as if we're saved by our faith and not by our works, but that doesn't mean that we can't be called to not do something, if that makes sense. Does making it about Jesus make it right?
Let me show you how the globalist parasites tell you the truth about the firmament in plain sight. Make sure you listen and watch to the end.
It may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now. Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. We just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. Thanks to you and to everyone who's fought so hard to make this possible. I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might.
Now you might be thinking this is just an analogy she uses, so let's go a little bit deeper here. Have you ever heard of Operation Fishbowl? This was a series of high-altitude nuclear tests in 1962, where the US government launched nukes straight up to test how high they would go. Now listen to this.
In 1962, 7 years before they faked the moon landing, Operation Dominic began. A series of 31 missiles were shot straight up into the sky to test how high humans can actually reach. They quickly figured out, not far at all.
It seems that whenever they were shooting these missiles up into the sky, they were actually interacting with different layers of this plasma field or this electromagnetic phenomena, and it seems to have fluid-like properties. As it actually hits a certain portion of this force field, if you will, it begins to disperse and seek equilibrium based on the impedance of the electromagnetic layers.
You notice how he said fluid-like properties? Well, let's take a look at this 1815 book of Genesis, the Bible, and let's see what it has to say. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Genesis 1:7. Waters above the firmament, fluid-like properties. What's even more interesting is this is how all of our ancestors depicted the Earth, and then NASA came along and gave you this spinning ball. The waters above the firmament, God in the heavens above. Because it's as above, so below. Now I'm going to show you a video from Operation Fishbowl of the bombs exploding. All right, here it is. Now you're going to notice here, these bombs are hitting something and exploding out. This is what a bomb looks like when it's exploding up. This is what it looks like when it's exploding out onto something, when it hits something and it has to expand out. This is what it looks like. They're hitting the firmament. The truth is always in plain sight, guys. Just need the eyes to see. Peace and love.
Who is the Pope? He is the Emperor of Rome. Rome never died, never faded away. It became the Vatican. What is the Vatican? It is the priesthood of all of the old pagan religions of Rome, built upon the deception that they are Christian. Can man change the orders of God? Can man elevate himself above God? No. Then why did the Pope change the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday, the venerable day of the worship of the sun Osiris? Why in the outer courtyard of the Vatican is there a temple of the sun, an obelisk, and a reflecting pool built as a fountain around the base of the obelisk? Because what we're talking about in Dealey Plaza and in Washington, D.C. exists also in the Vatican. And I'm not trying to insult Catholics, I'm just trying to tell you the truth.
There are pictures of Trump with Epstein and young ladies. You can't deny that. Now, that doesn't allude to anything. However, I do remember years ago when Epstein was being investigated, they said Trump was very cooperative. This is before we even really knew about Epstein. Now, here's what I ask. Think of everyone that hates Donald Trump. De Niro, Joe Biden, Obama, Hillary Clinton, Whoopi Goldberg, Chuck Schumer, Pelosi. Why aren't any of them screaming at the top of their lungs to release the Epstein files? Don't you think Chuck Schumer should be up there with his glasses going, I really think that Donald Trump should release the Epstein files? Don't you think so? Why isn't Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton going, we demand the What happened to the Me Too movement? Where's all the Me Too's going, hey, listen, we don't like, we get very upset and we're gonna march because women were touched and they were looked at funny, but hey, children getting raped on an island, let's get a new deal for a TV show and keep quiet about this one. Where are they?
You're coming right out on television, in the newspapers, on the radio, and you're telling the people exactly what you're going to do before you do it, and they're like they're brain dead. Well, we did a good job with the public school system.
This video has got people seriously questioning reality. It shows a man who claims he's been exiled from beyond the ice wall. According to him, the land outside is perfect. No war, no suffering, no pollution. He says our world is basically a prison, and he was sent here as punishment. Now, the video is in another language, but translations say he's describing this so-called paradise in vivid detail. Lush, clean air, advanced civilizations. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but he's dead serious. So, what is this ice wall he's talking about? Well, it's a core belief in flat Earth theory. Instead of the Earth being a globe with poles, this theory says the Earth is flat, surrounded by a massive ice ring, which we know as Antarctica. But here's the twist. That icy border, it's supposedly guarded, not to protect us, but to keep us from escaping, or from discovering what's really beyond it. Some believe there are entire continents hidden past the wall, advanced civilizations, new species, maybe even lost human history. Of course, scientists completely dismiss this theory. They say the ice wall doesn't exist, that Antarctica is just Antarctica.
Thank you so much for staying until the end. Comment Jazzy Knight to show your support. If you got anything from this video, a good laugh, or helpful information, please smash that like button, share this video with everyone you know. Become a Patreon Knight and gain access to exclusive content. and group chats with yours truly. I'll leave a link in the description. Never stop fighting for what you believe in. Remember, together, we can make a difference, but we must speak up.